Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pop Culture Spread, our fun weekly movie and streaming news show. Jace, let's get into some big news. Well, Jace, Comic-Con has wrapped up for another year, and boy, do we have some big news coming out of that. And the biggest news that have come out for that one is Robert Downey Jr. What does Robert Downey Jr. playing Dr. Doom mean? Fans are losing their minds over this, Jace. People are on the fence on this one.
Wow. Wow. Well, let's go back to the event itself. I mean, I watched the Hall H, right? I was able to see it in my nefarious means. And I'm watching it, and I didn't know about the end of this, the end of their panel. So their panel, they start with a good little number for Deadpool Wolverine, which was really great. And then, but they just start talking about the movies coming out, which is great, which we'll get into in the next story. But then the mic drop moment. I think I'd heard, in the past week, I'd heard, maybe they could bring him back as a different character. But this blew my mind, the thing that they brought him back. And it's ballsy, right?
I love it. It's great news.
And I tell you why it's ballsy, because I don't think he's playing Tony Stark.
Okay.
I don't think this is a Tony Stark variant. No. I think he's playing Victor Von Doom.
Okay.
If you think about Dr. Doom, really, in the comics, you never see his face. You do, but it's for a glimpse.
Right.
Well, the whole idea is Victor Von Doom is so vain and so about perfection that he has a slight scratch or something. So for him, he has to hide his face. So you could have Robert Downey Jr. playing Dr. Doom, and all you get to ever see is his eyes through the mask. So I don't think he's playing Tony Stark.
Okay.
I think you'll find he is one of the main villains in the Fantastic Four universe, of course, which is a different Earth than...
Yeah, they're in the multiverse.
Yeah, the main timeline, the sacred timeline. So, I think it's fantastic, because at the end of the day, this is an Academy Award-winning actor. He won an Academy Award earlier this year. And to get him back is fantastic. But it also, I've got to mention this too, to me, it's a sign of Marvel recognizing that they needed to course correct.
Yeah, but we were all wondering what they were going to do with Jonathan Majors, what was going to happen. Were they going to recast? They scrapped it. That's it. Bang. They put in Downey.
Well, they haven't. Yeah, they've scrapped it, but I also think they've been very clever, Rick, because there's nothing saying that in 5 to 7 years they could pick up back on that storyline, and they just recast a new villain, a new Kang. So I think they're not done with Kang yet, but I think they did the smartest thing possible. And this is backed up. I mean, if this news wasn't also, this was the big news, but also just equal bigger news is the Russo brothers are turning.
I've joined. Correct.
Which we spoke about last week on our show.
And it's been confirmed.
And and as I said last week, and I'll say it again, it's a brilliant choice. It's a smart way to do it. It's the kind of thing they needed to do. Get their heaviest hitters back on board for these next 2 Avengers films. And it's exciting. Avengers Doomsday? Come on. So it's really going to be a film about Dr. Doom, right? Really, mostly. And then we get Secret Wars. And it's not that far away, dude.
No.
It's May 2026 is the next week. That's less than 2 years away.
Which will fly by.
Fly by. So, absolutely thrilling, fantastic, show-stopping moment to see Robert Downey Jr. return to the MCU.
People lost their minds. And he posted on his official Twitter, on his social page, he put, he's holding up the mask and it says, new mask, same task. And a lot of people are reading into that. What does that actually mean? There's a lot of theories coming out. My theory was it was a variant. That's when I rang when the news dropped, I spoke to you and I said, I think it's a variant. And then you've gone and said, well, and it kind of does make sense. Like, he doesn't really need to take that mask off, does he? Like, he could play this character for a long time.
No. I mean, the biggest complaints about previous iterations of Doctor Doom is the fact that A, the suits always look crap.
Yeah.
B, he's always taking the mask off when the idea is not. Now, what did he say? Different mask, same task, right?
New mask, same task.
Now, what I think that's referring to is the fact that Tony Stark was obsessed with, right up to the end, was putting an armor around the world. Remember that? That was a big part through Avengers, the Age of Ultron, and through Civil War, and that kind of played out. And I think Doctor Doom, in his own twisted way, that's what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
From his own bad guy point of view, he's just trying to put an armor around the world. So I think that's what he's referring to. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's been a bigger moment at Comic-Con for at least years than this.
But they had to. They had to do it.
Yeah, they had to.
They had to. They've been away for, they weren't there last year, and the year before it was pretty lame, and especially with what's happening within the Marvel universe, they had to come back bigger and better, and they dropped it, and they did, and it was just the reaction that people just losing their minds over this was just. I think it's a fantastic move. This is a great move by Marvel, and it's going to pay off because, like you said, we've got the Russo brothers doing both Avenger movies. You can't go wrong. It's a winning.
No, you can't go wrong. I mean, it is a winning formula, and it hypes up. See, I think I'd stated previously I didn't have that much interest in the Kang storyline. I really didn't, and now I'm totally opposite. I am counting down the days to see Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be kind of phenomenal. So I cannot wait for that. That's going to be brilliant. And wow, when we have a segment called Big News, that's big news.
Big news for sure. All right, Jay, speaking of news, let's get into what's in other news. All right, we briefly touched on this just before, but we're going to talk about what did Marvel actually present at Comic-Con. So Marvel Studios brings Captain America, Brave New World, Thunderbolts, and more to Comic-Con. So what did they actually deliver?
They delivered a bunch, Rick. And what are the some of the great highlights is, and you would have seen it over the internet, Harrison Ford hulking out on stage.
I know. How much energy did he have?
Yeah. Which is awesome. And he mocapped that. We got that out of it. He mocapped that, which was fantastic. So they had all the cast on there. It was really a promotion for the film. But you know what? I think they've done something really cool here with this film. And everyone's excited about it. Hopefully it lives up to what. We had a great scene with David Harbour in the gear, in his Red Guardian gear. Walked out with the cast of the Thunderbolts, which was really great. And they were talking about that film as well and how much fun they had and all that. So it really was kind of promotion for that. Wasn't it? And then finally the Fantastic Four cast come out. They haven't even shot a Skerica film yet. They actually start filming tomorrow, I believe, over in London. And they start that process, and it's really great, And based upon that, right, that's a kind of average presentation until we get the story we just did, which is like Robert Downey.
Yeah.
But it's still good. It's really, I think what this also represents, Rick, is it's okay. We've had a rough few years, but we've had Deadpool and Wolverine just reset the clock. Everybody loves Marvel again. And now we're pushing forward with all these great new movies. Everything's slowed down. There wasn't even anything about Agatha all along. They didn't mention that at all.
No.
And they've stayed tight-lipped on everything else. So absolutely, it's just exciting to see that. Looks like Marvel have, they've taken their beatings in the last few years, but they look like they're back.
They're back.
A big way.
And I think you nailed it before as well, Jace, like you said. a lot of people had that Marvel fatigue and people didn't really get excited about it. But I just feel like now, like you said, Deadpool and Wolverine's come out. They've done this presentation on, at Comic-Con, and people are excited and they're feeling like, man, I want to get back in the cinemas and start watching some more movies, which is what we want. We want people to get back in the cinemas and get excited about, comic books.
100%. And it's done it. And I've been the one, I was the first one to start complaining about it.
Yeah.
But now I feel like I've come through the fog. I'm excited again. And you've just nailed it right at the end. I'm not just excited to go back to see Marvel movies. I had that a great experience yesterday to see Deadpool and Wolverine. That I'm going to go back and start seeing other movies again. So fantastic stuff.
Love it. All right. Speaking of Deadpool and Wolverine, our next story. Weekend box office. Deadpool and Wolverine clocks a $205 million opening weekend. Mate.
It is the highest grossing R-rated movie weekend in history. This is huge. This is the injection that the film industry has been needing, Rick. And I'm really excited to hear that we've had a couple of these big box office juggernauts this year. One being Inside Out 2. That's up to $1.4 billion. But to see Deadpool and Wolverine, an R-rated movie, Rick, which generally means you lose a third of your box office minimum, it is not the case. Ryan Reynolds actually came out and said he thinks he's made the first ever 4-quadrant R-rated movie. And I think he's right. So, but it's not just $205 million American domestically. This thing globally has hit $460 million. This thing is going to be a mega hit. And Rick, as you know, and as you stated rightly yesterday, this is one of those films where people will go back. And they will take their friends. They'll want to try to capture all the Easter eggs that they missed out on the first time. This is a highly rewatchable film. So I'm so happy because the film deserves it. Yeah. Because it's a great film. As go check out our review, which is currently up, our Deadpool and Wolverine effing spoiler review, as we're calling it. Go check it out. It's a great chat. It was filmed literally 15 minutes after we saw the movie. So it's very much a reaction to what we experienced in the cinema. So go check that out. But no, that is phenomenal, isn't it? We are looks like Marvel are back, They are.
They're back bigger and stronger, and I'm really happy that this movie has made what it's made and what it's done for a lot of people, giving the hope that we can go back to the cinemas and watch good movies and walk out happy and enjoyed it, and a good feeling that I spent my $20 or whatever it was to get a ticket, and I enjoyed it. So
let's make sure that it looks like 100%. Now it's all about quality over quantity.
100%. 100%. So it's good to see the final numbers when they come out and what they actually get. So we'll keep an eye on that for sure.
I'm thinking 1.5 billion is where I'm thinking currently it'll hit. Because I think there's nothing in its way for the next couple of weeks.
No.
The next thing that's going to be anywhere near it maybe Alien Romulus, but that's going to take a little. I mean, that's for horror fans, right? And that's for not everyone's going to go and see Alien Romulus.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's definitely got a clear road ahead of it to really keep, grinding up those numbers, which is awesome.
Awesome. Good to hear. All right, Jason, let's jump into a different universe. This is more your universe, buddy. The next story is Star Trek. So Star Trek universe makes a splash at Comic-Con with Strange New Worlds Season 3 footage, talk to another musical, and more. What's going on in this world, mate?
Well, there was a bit of news coming out of the Star Trek universe. And one, we did get to see the trailer of Season 3 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which is, Rick, basically it is the most popular Star Trek show they got on. It's the one that general audience seems to enjoy as well. So that's exciting to see these guys back with a really, that's actually quite a funny clip. And so that was good news, seeing that come back as well. It's a show I even recommend to everybody. Just check it out because it's fun. The other news that we got was the fact there's going to be a brand new live action comedy, all-out comedy series being developed. Yeah, for Star Trek. So, and it's going to be set, apparently, and let me just confirm
a comedy.
It's going to be like a live action comedy. Where are we here? Here we go. And it's all about a Starfleet crew residing. Oh no, that's the wrong information. Please, here we go. I should have had this prepared. I want to get this right. Either way, it's a live action comedy series set on a base where they're kind of like the Truman Show. Like everyone else in the galaxy watches them for entertainment.
Right. Okay.
And that's what it's supposed to be, which to me is alarming because I love comedy, and Star Trek Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds can be very funny, like good quality, funny stuff, Rick. However, what concerns me is that the gravitas, the seriousness of Star Trek is being put on the back burner. See, what makes Star Trek great, Rick, as far as I'm concerned, is it's science fiction. But they do, every week was kind of like a different genre. Like one week it could be a courtroom thriller. The next week it could be an action piece. The week after that it could be a quiet romantic story. There's always a different way they come at it. And my concern is Star Trek going into the future seems to be missing out on some of the really kind of good stuff. But at the same time, it's better to have some Star Trek than no Star Trek. Starfleet Academy had some news. They're adding more quality actors, including some returning actors from Star Trek Voyager, the EMH, Robert Picardo. You may know him, Rick, as the guy who wore the cowboy hat and the curly hair from Inner Space.
Oh,
that movie? Yeah, Robert Picardo. So he returns. Which is great news, which is fantastic news. And I've been really critical of that show, but the cast they put together, the development and the idea of the show, but what they're putting together looks really good. What it does say is Star Trek's got a very healthy future going forward. And I think that is great news because if a show like Star Trek can survive and prosper and do well, pardon the pun, I think that's good for a lot of franchises. And it's an indicator that people are still into their franchises.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Trek's hitting on where it was made in the 60s. We're coming up to the 60th anniversary in a couple of years.
Yep.
Of Star Trek. There's 60 years of fandom, 60 years of storytelling, and to see it's still healthy and viable, and new stuff is being created, it's good news.
Are they trying to?
Sorry, go on.
Are they trying to tap into this market of people who don't normally would watch Star Trek? Hence why they want to try and do maybe a comedy?
Yes.
Is that what they're trying to do? Like, I'm not a big Star Trek fan. So what would that appeal to me going, I love my comedies. So would I go, is it worth a what? I mean, I would have to see some footage.
Well, yeah, I would say Lower Decks. You could watch Lower Decks and laugh because it's very much like Family Guy, Lower Decks.
Okay, well, there you go. The way you explained it, then, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the writers of that are also writing the live action. So,
yeah,
I think that's a good thing. Look, at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is they need to appeal to more people than they currently have. You need to make it comfortable for people to come in. And I think that's where Star Trek Strange New Worlds becomes one of its core functions, is to allow people who've never got into Star Trek ever in their lives to come in on an entry point where it's not expected that 50 years of fandom,
Yep.
And I think it's a struggle for all the big franchises, including Star Wars, is you want to make content that allows new people to come on board. And I think Star Trek are trying really hard for that, and they need to, because their main, let's face it, dude, their original fan base are starting to drop off. You know, people that were in their early 20s in the late 60s, dude, 60 years later, they're in their 80s.
That's right.
So Star Trek has lost some of its first generation of
The
fandom.
OGs.
So, you know, we're now getting into, you know, the guys who watched it growing up in the 70s and reruns and stuff. But yeah, you need new fans to keep your franchise alive. But yeah, I think it's still good news to come out of Comic-Con that they are pushing forward to a franchise that means a lot to a lot of people, Rick.
Sorry, in this title here it says a musical. Did they do a musical? Or
they did. Well, they didn't. One of the things the Strange New Worlds attempted was to go back to episodic television rather than having a lot of stuff these days is one story over 12 episodes. They were going back to the old model, different story each week. And they were really trying with different genres there. They were trying to do. One of them was a musical episode. I liked it. It caused division within the fandom, though. There's a lot of people who liked it, and I went, "Oh, look, it is what it is."
Yeah.
I like some of the music more so than some of the other people. And no, it caused massive division. A lot of people didn't hate it. A lot of people hated it. So I was shocked at him to come out and say that. Do I want another musical episode? Absolutely not. No. You did it. You did it. What are you doing here? This isn't Glee. Like, don't go anywhere near it. So, but I don't think they have firm plans. They're just saying, hey, anything's possible. But please don't make it possible.
Please don't. All right, Jace, before we get into the train wreck of the week, I just want to remind the guys to hit and like that subscribe button for us and also hit that notification bell. So we would really appreciate it. So every time our videos are uploaded, you don't miss out. And also you can hear us on audio podcast on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and where all good podcasts are found. All right, Jace, let's get into train wreck of the week. All right, Jace, who's made the train this week, mate?
Why, Rick? Why do you have to come out and say this now, James Mangold? Why? Like, what was the purpose of having a dig? You have James Mangold, right? No offense to, and I love James Mangold's movies. He makes some amazing movies. He does. He really does. Ford versus Ferrari, Logan, you know, maybe not Dial of Destiny. Yeah, maybe not that one. But he worked with Hugh Jackman twice. With the Wolverine and Logan. And then he's come out and said basically he believes multiverse crossovers are the death of storytelling. On the weekend, Rick, the weekend of the release of Deadpool and Wolverine, which is nothing but multiverse crossover. And it seems really, maybe he didn't intend it like it, Rick, but Jesus, dude, like opening weekend of their movie, you come off petty, dude. You come off a bit annoyed. Now, maybe there's, like, Rick, we can't say what happens in the movie, but you would say early on there's a scene that maybe he wouldn't have been a fan of what they did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know the scene talk about.
You know what I mean? Something that was very big in Logan and powerful, emotional. Deadpool, Wolverine decide to do what they do. But, like, mate, get a sense of humor if that's the case. Pull the stick out of your backside. And like, come on. Like, these guys made you a lot of money and got you a career. Like,
it just seems a little bit petty. Is it because Logan was supposed to be the last Wolverine movie? That was it. Like, I know Hugh came out and said that was going to be the last one, but it was actually Hugh that actually contacted Ryan to make this movie. So
it took years for him to do that. They didn't.
Correct. So it's a bit childish, man. Like, even if it didn't come across that way, man, the timing is atrocious.
And the timing is horrible. And the fact of the matter is, what did he achieve out of this?
Well,
nothing. Nothing. He comes out looking like a dick.
Did he say it on an interview to someone? Is that what
he was referencing that a movie he's got currently in production, which features Johnny Cash at one point, And they kind of asked him, "Oh, would you get Joaquin Phoenix to do?" And he went, "No, I'm not. I don't like multiverse. I don't do multiverse crossovers. You know, blah blah blah." And it just seemed, even though he will probably, it was in context to that movie. No, dude. No, dude. No, because the way you've said it, it means exactly what everyone has interpreted it as. You are bitter for some reason about Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's just not cool.
Don't bring it out to the public.
Because, hey, dude, we've seen the film, right? Do you think it in any way really disparages or lessens your enjoyment of Logan or the Wolverine? No way. Not at all, right? Not at all. In fact, it's a love letter to films like that. And without spoiling anything, that's what the whole film is. It's a love letter to those characters. So, yeah, very disappointing to see it. And that's why it got train wreck of the week this week.
Yeah, it is actually disappointing that James actually said that, because he is a good director and clearly he's just bitter about something. Well, it is what it is. Jace, there it is, mate. We have covered everything that has come out of Comic-Con over the weekend with some great stories.
Well, not everything, but we covered the big beats.
I know there's a lot of DC news as well, and there's a few things there.
Well, there's a little bit of DC news, nothing super. There was some, hey, man, I got some great He-Man news over that as well. So there's lots there, but, man, how do you not? I mean, what we spoke about was it, right? It really was Marvel weekend.
Yeah. It's good to see Marvel back, kicking goals. Loving it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That wraps up the show. Guys, if you want to catch us, you can see us on this channel. All the links are down below with everything. You can check out our trailer reactions. There's going to be some new shows coming up as well, so we'll get a little bit more into that. And a whole backlog catalog of all the videos there. So like I said, all the links are down below. Jace, where can the guys catch you as well besides this channel?
You can find me over in Captain's Quadrant every week talking Trek with my mates from the US over there. You can also find me appearing on the Jason Roy Gaston channel. But most importantly, you can find me here every week. And Rick's saying, yes, there's some new shows coming down the pipeline, but there's some cool stuff coming, guys. So hold out for some news. We'll be saying something in the next week in a bit, I reckon. So
yeah, wonderful. Anyway. Until then, we'll see you guys next week.
See you, guys. For now. Thanks for watching. If you could do us a massive favor and hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. Also, come and check out us on all our social media accounts and keep up to date. And if you're looking for some clothing, you're needing some merch, we've got you covered at the Pop Culture Spread store.